the beginning, let me tell you a little about Aurangabad Black Bucks. So in the year 2013, sometime in the month of March, a few of us decided to run. Now, all of us were above 40, 45, and we really don't know why we decided to run for a marathon. So our wife said that, you guys are having a midlife crisis, and that's why you want to run. So I told my wife, look, in a midlife crisis, I can buy an SUV, I can buy a motorcycle, or I can have an affair with a younger woman. I would rather run. So that is why we decided to run. There was no training. We didn't know what shoes to wear, what is dry fit technology, what do you mean by hydration, what do you mean by carb loading, and all these fancy jargon which everybody was using. But we read on the internet, we spoke with a few runners, and we managed to complete our first half marathon in Hyderabad in 2013. Now when we came back in 2013, a lot of people were curious. How did you guys actually run a half marathon? A few of them actually asked me, did you really run 20 kilometers or was it a 5-kilometer marathon? So it's actually 21. So people thought when we can run, we can run too. Everybody thought even they could run too. So a lot of people joined this movement, and before you knew it, we had more than 100 runners who ran a lot of marathons in Pune, Mumbai, Satara, Goa, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, all the way up to Ladakh. So when we became 100 and 150, we decided to give some name to this running group, and that is why we called ourselves Aurangabad Black Bucks, or ABB is the short form. Now once we'd run so many marathons, everybody thought that why don't we have our own marathon? And then the idea came of having our own marathon in Aurangabad. Aurangabad being a heritage city, we decided to call it as a heritage marathon. And when we had our title sponsor in MIT, our marathon was titled as MIT Aurangabad Heritage Half Marathon. So last year we had our first marathon in November 2016, which was a resounding success. We had close to 2,000 runners who ran from more than 7 states and 40 cities all over the country. Our route is unique, that it starts from Daulatabad, goes up to the Ellora caves, and then you come back to Daulatabad. So it touches the World Heritage Site, that is the Ellora caves. So when we had this marathon, we had a lot of activities to train new runners. And one of these activities was the last Sunday of the month run. And through these last Sunday of month runs, through guest lectures, through interaction with senior runners, we could train more than 600 people to run their first half marathon. This year we again are having our second edition of the marathon, and as a part of this marathon, we have an interesting session lined up today. We have 2 very special guests who have come to interact with us. So before I invite them on stage, let me introduce them. Our first guest is Shilpa Phadke. Shilpa Phadke is the founder and director of Stay Fit Enterprise Private Limited, which makes 100% healthy and nutritious food products by the brand On the Run. A telecommunication engineer by qualification, Shilpa quit telecom in 2012 to bring out her entrepreneurial side and assemble her own startup. Being a fitness enthusiast and a true foodie at heart, Shilpa always wanted to create something that weaved both her passions together into a profession. After the much needed research of the industry and trials and study of nutritional food, she started Stay Fit Enterprise Private Limited in 2014. Today, through On the Run energy bars and the granola range, the company has retail presence in the top 10-15 cities of India and also a pan-India online presence. A sports enthusiast, Shilpa regularly engages in outdoor adventure sports activities, cycling, running and trekking. She regularly takes part in various races and has been a podium finisher in every race that she has participated. Shilpa has received the Women Entrepreneur Award of Rotary for the year 2016. Today, Shilpa envisions a fit and healthy India with the belief of raising awareness around the eating and lifestyle habits. On the Run is a step in the direction to inspire all to make the necessary lifestyle change and introduced healthful products in the packaged food segment. Our second guest actually needs no introduction, Milind Soman. An active sportsman from his childhood, Milind Soman is today known for his various feats at the tender age of 50. An Ironman and an Ultraman, Milind is the fitness evangelist everybody looks up to. Now all of us have heard of the Ironman. I'd just like to tell you what an Ultraman is. The Ultraman race is a race spread out over 3 days in which you swim for 10 kilometers, you cycle for 518 kilometers, and then you run for 84 kilometers. So he's the Ultraman who's done this. He has been an international level swimmer and has represented Maharashtra from the age of 10 at various age groups, before going on to represent state at the senior level, where he held the National Swimming Championship title for 4 consecutive years. Soman also represented India in swimming at the inaugural South Asian Games in Kathmandu, where he won a silver medal. Milind started India's first and largest women-only running event called as Pinkathon. Started with an objective of creating awareness about breast cancer, Pinkathon has become a movement in the last 4 years and has inspired millions of women to get out of their closet and comfort and run for their health. Not to forget, he is an actor, producer, filmmaker, entrepreneur, and a supermodel. Over the years, Milind associated himself with various social causes such as road safety, clean and green environment, quit smoking campaign, and many more. Milind advocates healthful living, simple eating, no sugar, no processed foods, and would like to spread awareness about health and well-being to all. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Shilpa Phadke and Milind Soman.
Just clap your hands with me.
May I request our senior runner and ABB member, Mr. Mukund Bogle, to please welcome Shilpa.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and see life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and see life do what you want. So give me all the scars, I'm a human being. Cover them with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me and the things I could be, I just wish I had seen. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own.
Milind is now preparing for the Ironman. He is preparing for the Ironman. And you have his best wishes. So we want an Ironman from ABB. Thank you, Nitin. Every marathon is known by a few things. It is known by the city, the route, the elevation, but it is also known by the t-shirt. Wherever you go today, you will see people proudly wearing some marathon t-shirt. And there's always a hierarchy in the t-shirt, whether you're wearing a local or international or a comrades t-shirt. So we are proud to have our own t-shirt, and we take this opportunity to unveil our race t-shirt for the second edition of MAHHM in November 2017. I request Munish and Bhoglesa to please be on the dais. So as you can see, again on the medal, the design is such that it shows all the heritage structures of Aurangabad. Both our t-shirt and medal has been designed by Elephant Design, which is the leading designing firm in India. They have a special team which works on sports products working on this medal. Another thing special about this medal is on the back side, we have kept some empty space where you can get a personalized medal. You can have your name and timing etched on it. So on the race day, there'll be a stall. Once you're giving the medal, you can go there and get it personalized. And what special I would like to mention is Elephant Design today is the #1 design firm in the country, and they have not charged us anything for all the design work that they do for our marathon. So I take this opportunity to thank them. So all of you, thank you so much. All of you have seen the t-shirt, you have seen the medal. So in case some of you have not registered for the event, please do so at the earliest. There is a registration counter there at the back side. I would like to also announce that our medical partner, MIT Hospital, has made a very attractive package, a pre-run checkup for all registered runners, free of cost. A big hand to the MIT Hospital. So all registered runners will get an email and they can visit MIT Hospital and do their pre-run checkup. Now we shall start the session for which we've all been eagerly waiting. So over to you, Shilpa. Thank you.
Okay, good evening everyone, and thank you so much for this warm welcome. I think the unveiling of the medal and the t-shirt was awesome. So thanks for that, and thanks for hosting us for this evening. I'm sure you all are eager and waiting to hear what the Ultraman has to say. So I'm Shilpa Phadke, as I was introduced, from Stay Fit Enterprise and the brand On The Run. We are here really to, the topic of today's discussion is debunking the food myths with On The Run and Milind Soman. So how do you train for marathons, Ironman, Ultraman? Sir, aap kya khate ho? These are the questions that Milind Soman gets asked, I'm sure, every single day. We will start the conversation with these questions, specifically on food myths and the kind of training, or let's say what he did when he trained for this ultra endurance races. We are very curious because we are going to ask him if he takes magic potions or he does take some sort of a superfoods that makes him so fit at 50. So one of the subjects which is very close to all the ultra event doers, the ultra runners and everybody is protein. I guess protein is something that there are conceptions, misconceptions, how much one should eat, how much one should not eat. So let's start by asking Milind that, what do you think on protein supplements and the fuss around them, Milind?
So I don't take any kind of supplementation, even though I have done events like the Ultraman, I've done Ironman. I've been running marathons for the last 15 years. I was a national swimming champion for many years. I've represented India in swimming. But I've never felt the necessity to take any kind of supplement. No protein supplement, no vitamin supplement. And I think because of my experience, what I would say that I have learned is that up to a certain amount of work can be done by the body on a normal diet, on a natural diet. And if you're, of course, if you're training for the World Championships or the Olympics, which means that you would be training about 8 or 9 hours a day, at least, if not more, then you definitely need some kind of supplementation, because from your regular diet to get the kind of nutrients that you require to sustain that kind of effort is very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. But when we're talking about endurance sport for health, which is what we do. So I've been running marathons for the last 15 years, as I said. Or even if you look at the Black Bucks in Aurangabad, they're doing the 10-kilometer run, the half marathon, 25 kilometers, for which maybe they train regularly, say up to an hour a day or 1.5 hours a day. We don't really require any kind of supplementation. So supplementation is required in two instances. One is when the food that you're eating does not contain all the nutrients that you require. And two, that your body is unable to assimilate the nutrition from the food that you are actually eating. So the first point is, of course, about scarcity, where you're not able to give your body the nutrition it requires. The second part, where the body is not able to assimilate nutrition from the food it's eating, is a question of body function. So if your body function is good, your body is able to take up nutrition from any normal diet that you eat. Because what we eat generally is a balanced diet. When we look at the Indian diet, it is a very balanced diet. The food that we eat at home, we're talking about chapati, bhaji, rice, dal, all those kinds of things mixed together give us a very balanced diet. It has all the micronutrients, macronutrients, vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates, fiber that the body requires to sustain the activity required for good health. So I have never seen the necessity of supplementation.
Right. So what basically, just to summarize what he's saying, is that protein is required, but protein supplementation is not necessarily required in the normal conditions when we are just exercising for health. If you are exercising for extreme endurance activities, that is a time, if your food is not able to supply the protein, that's the time you might consider supplementation. But in general, protein is for recovery, and we grossly underestimate the capability that body has got to synthesize these proteins from the foods that we eat. So that's really kind of brings us to the next question that we would like to talk, which is, I think the weight loss industry is probably one of the fastest growing industry today in India and all over the world. There are foods, superfoods, which are called fat burning foods. So what is it? What is this jargon of fat burning food? Is there some food that I can eat and get size 0 in, let's say, next 21 days? Is there something called fat burning foods? Because we regularly see top 10 fat burning foods, list of top 10 fat burning foods, eats broccoli, get slim, eat this, get slim. So what is your view on this fat burning foods?
So there are certain qualities that food have, different kinds of food. That is why they exist, that's why we consume them. Some fruits, some food give you more amino acids, some food supply more fuel, some food supply more of some vitamin. But in terms of burning fat, there is no food that can do that. The only way to burn fat is through exercise or through sport. You cannot burn fat through eating more. There are certain combinations of food that should not be created, which again is an individual question, because we have certain allergies, we have certain responses to food that might disbalance our own body. So one has to learn that at an individual level. So how to combine food, what foods to eat at which time of the year, all these things have to be learned individually. As a rule, I would say, there are very simple rules on what food to eat. One is that you should eat locally grown food. Two, it should be seasonal. So which means you don't import the food, you don't freeze the food and keep the food for months so that you can eat it out of season. And the third thing is, stay away as far as possible from packaged and processed food. If you're eating packaged and processed food, it has to be packaged and processed very minimally. Even cooking is a process. Cooking is a process, and most food that we eat needs to be cooked. Cereals, for example, rice, wheat, they cannot be eaten without cooking. But even the way cooking is to be used, it has to be cooked minimally so that we do not lose the nutrients that are present in those foods. So there are three very simple things that you need to pay attention to when you're eating. One is local and seasonal. One is, what was the other thing? My memory is terrible. I forget every minute what I'm saying. Packaged and processed. And the third thing...
Least processed.
Least processed. The third thing is, whatever your grandparents ate, whatever they had to eat at that time, whatever was available to them. And they were very smart, they were very active, they lived long, healthy lives. Whatever they ate is actually good for us. So there is no need to go after food that is coming from South America because it's called a superfood, or coming from Japan because it has some other nutritive quality. We do not really require that for good health, or even for competition. We don't need it. It's a fad. It's just to indulge some part of us that feels insecure about getting what we actually already have.
So basically, eat what you know and know
what you eat. It's very important to understand what food is. There's a very ancient saying. All the doctors will know it. It's called it's by the physician, an ancient physician called Hippocrates, and all doctors take the Hippocratic oath. One of the most famous quotes by Hippocrates was, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." So you are supposed to treat food as a medicine. You don't really need medicine if you eat correctly. If you eat correctly and you have an active lifestyle, you need not fall sick at all. So a lot of the diseases that we have are from adopting the wrong lifestyle and eating the wrong kind of food. So we should understand what it is that we are ingesting, what it is that we are putting inside our body. It is very important. Today food has become an entertainment for us. You know, Shilpa is a foodie. She was described just now as a foodie. So food has become entertainment. Which restaurant should we go to? What shall we eat today? What should we eat at 4 o'clock? What should we eat at 6 o'clock? But why you are eating that? Why are you eating it? And what is it doing for you? We don't consider that at all. Only how it tastes. Taste has become entertainment. And we should be wary of that. Let us not eat for entertainment. Let us eat food for what it can add to our lives in terms of value.
Meaningful eating is what it should be. So that's great, Milind. I think two of the most popular myths that are in our mind is you have busted those already. So one last before we really want to move on to your Ultraman is that carbs make you...
I just want to explain to them what we are doing. So we thought of what could be the most common misunderstandings or misinformation or myths that exist in the minds of people today vis-a-vis food. And those are the things that we're talking about here. Now, of course, we might talk about how I did Ultraman and all that, but after that, any questions that you might have, we will be open to answering. Anything about food or exercise or sport, we'll be open to answering.
Right. So the third myth, which is very common, and it is also common among the runners because majority of this crowd is runners who are taking part in this half marathon, is that the carbs make you fat. So is this saying a myth or is it true? Or do you eat carbs? How frequently do you eat carbs?
So I eat a lot of carbs. So when I ran, so the first big running event that I did was called the Greenathon. And it was in 2012 when I ran from Delhi to Bombay. That was 1,500 kilometers. And the first thing people asked me is, what did you eat? And they were very surprised when I said, I used to eat khichdi all the time. So I survived on khichdi. I ran 1,000 miles on khichdi. They were thinking there must be something special that I must be eating. And then they ask, the next common question is, do you eat rice? Because when I tell them that from the age of 19 till my age today, which is 52, which is almost 35 years, I have always been the same weight. I have not put on any weight. I knew they would like that. So they ask me, so you must be very careful about what you eat. And I say, no, I'm not careful at all. I eat everything that is available. Wherever I go, what is available, I eat it. So they said, do you eat rice? I said, I eat rice 3 times a day. You know? So what do I stay away from? The only thing I stay away from, and this is across all food groups, is refined food. So refined cereals, polished rice, refined oil, refined sugar, everything that is refined, in fact, can make you fat. So it's not a question of what food group it is. If it is refined, it disbalances your body function. And the first sign of disbalanced body function is putting on weight. The body naturally does not put on weight. If your body is functioning correctly, it will not put on weight. So the doctors say, of course internationally also it's very popular, that Indians have a special gene that makes the men have a paunch. So a lot of Indian men say, "काय करायचं?" Do you speak Marathi, all of you? Yeah. "काय करायचं? आपलं जीनच तसं आहे." But the most important things that you need to know about genetics is that genetics only show you a tendency. It shows you a tendency, which means you probably have to work a little harder, but you still can be really fit and healthy. Earlier, even in sports, people used to say that Indians can't win any medals in sports because we don't have the genes, which we are now proving them wrong. A lot of our sportsmen today and sportswomen are winning medals on the international stage because now we have overcome that mental block that Indians don't have the genes. Of course we have the genes. We just don't train right and we don't eat right and we don't have the right lifestyle and we don't have the right mindset. So it is very simple to overcome genetic disadvantages. You have to take the right decisions vis-a-vis food, lifestyle and those kind of things.
Great. So the question that I said that we will move on to Ultraman is really about for such an endurance activity. All of this is great to know that you can eat carbs, you can eat, as long as you're exercising, you can eat everything that's in its natural form, you can eat everything that you know about, and there is no supplementation requirement until you are venturing into some endurance.
But I just want to make a clarification here. So a lot of runners specifically have this myth, and they talk about it saying, if I run, I can eat anything. But that's not the truth. Food that is bad for you is still bad for you. It's still harmful. So even if you run, even if you exercise, even if you're fit, you cannot eat whatever you want. You cannot eat food that is bad for you. You still cannot abuse your body. You still cannot put pressure and stress on your physical self, on all your physical systems. You have to respect it. You have to treat it well. Only then will your body give you back a long and healthy life. So it's not that is a big myth. I meet a lot of runners who say this, Arey, I run, I can drink beer. Of course you can drink beer. Anybody can drink beer. And anybody can drink anything they want. But it does not mean that your body can deal with it. Your body can deal with it up to a certain level. It is still abuse. Junk food, alcohol, sugar, drugs, cigarettes, it is still abuse. It doesn't matter how fit you are or how healthy you keep yourself. It's still abuse.
Right. So why don't you tell us that Ultraman is like the ultimate race that so far you have done. So tell us what you ate during this race and how long did you train for this race? Because I think that's a question in everyone's mind here and we would like to hear that.
So I just, before I answer that, go back to Ironman. Ironman, the distance is, for those who don't know, an Ironman is a one-day triathlon, is a 3.8 kilometer swim, it's a 180 kilometer cycle, and a 42 kilometer full marathon, done consecutively. If you finish all three within a certain time, you get the title of Ironman. The cutoff time is about 16 hours. In some cities it's 17 hours, but that depends on the city and the terrain. So when I signed up for Ironman, it was my first triathlon. I had never done a triathlon before. Of course, I used to be a swimmer. I was swimming again after 25 years. I had never cycled more than 2 kilometers, maybe around the building or around the block. I don't like cycling. I don't enjoy it. I had been running for many years, but I was doing a triathlon for the first time. So I did a bit of research on myself to figure out what I needed to do, the fitness level which I was at, and what are the weaknesses and strengths I could work with. So I created my own training program for the Ironman. First I asked somebody who had done Ironman maybe 10 times, 12 times, and I said, give me a training program. So they gave me a training program that was 35 hours a week. So I said, I can't do this, 35 hours a week, which means I will have no life left for myself. So my purpose of doing sport is not to give my entire life to sport. It is to enhance my life, to add value to my life. That is why I do sport. So if I'm giving 35 hours a week to sport, what is going to happen to the rest of my life? So I said, I can't do this 35 hours a week. I said, give me a shorter program. So they gave me a 25-hour-a-week program. I said, I don't even have 25 hours because I have other things to do. So I created my own program, which was 14 hours a week. And of course, I probably then had to do it a little longer because when you're doing less of a workout, you need to do it for a longer time for the same kind of conditioning. So I trained for 80 days on my own program and I did Ironman. And when I did Ironman, so the thing is, of course, when you want to do your best, it is always tough. When you want to break your personal record, it is tough. When you have a goal, which is your personal goal to meet, it is always tough. But in events like the Ironman, for example, where there is a cutoff of 16 hours, it's important to know what is your capacity. Can you make 16 hours? If you do it under 16 hours, you become Ironman. There is no need for you to do it in 12 hours. If all you want is to get the title. So for me, it was important just to get the title. I did not want to kill myself doing Ironman. So after the 80 days of training, I did Ironman. I did it quite comfortably. I did it in 15 hours and 19 minutes. In fact, when I finished the swim and the cycle, I had 7 hours to do the full marathon. which for anybody to know, to do a 7-hour marathon is not difficult, especially if you already have a certain level of fitness. So I would say that it was very comfortable for me, and I want to say that because I want to tell you that it will be comfortable for any of you to do this. So when I signed up for Ultraman, I wanted to see whether the fitness level that I had achieved with Ironman and that I had maintained, because what normally happens is when you have a goal of a marathon, you train for the marathon, you do the marathon, and then you stop. So your fitness level goes up, and then you stop, and your fitness level gradually comes down. Then again you set another goal, again you train, again you reach a fitness level, again you stop, and your fitness level drops. My goal is to keep a continuous, sustainable level of fitness. So that was why when I created my own program, which was 14 hours a week, I know that this 14 hours is something that I can give myself all my life. I don't have to forget.
No, so I think that's a very important point, because when we were discussing with Mr. Bhogle, and I think this is something that they mentioned, that like you always say, that people might be saying, त्याचं काय जातंय, तो हेच करत असेल. So, but that's not true. I mean,
त्याचं लग्न नाही झालं, मुलं नाही, जॉब नाही, काय तो धावतच राहतो.
So,
हेच होतं ना मनात तुमच्या सगळ्यांच्या, मला माहिती होतं.
So it is an important point to note that you don't really need to train like a crazy person, leaving everything rest in the life aside. You can just train the way he trained. There is a discipline which is required. There is a routine that's required.
Finally, it's all about managing time. When you consider that there are 168 hours in a week, how many hours can you give yourself? So when you consider that you sleep for 8 hours a day, you work for 8 hours a day, you eat for 3 hours a day, you travel for 3 hours a day, you still have 15 to 20 hours left over. What do you do with it? You can do Ironman. So
Yeah.
it's easy for anyone. Once you put your mind to something like that, you manage your time, you train well, and you can do it. Now when I got to Ultraman, I wanted to see whether, as I mentioned, the level of fitness that I have achieved, is it enough for me to take up this challenge without training? So I did not do any kind of training for Ultraman. I just continued the same level of activity that I was doing in my swimming, running, and cycling, and I did the Ultraman. So it sounds tough. When you do these kind of events, and again I'd like to say, this is again a bit of information that not many people know or think about. Events like this are not necessarily good for health. Even the marathon itself, there is a debate on whether running a marathon, which is the 42-kilometer marathon, is it actually good for health? There is a big debate internationally. So even for me to think about it, that yes, if I run 5 kilometers every day or 10 kilometers every day, it's good for my health. But should I run 21 kilometers every day? Should I run 50 kilometers every day? It may not be good. That pressure and stress on my heart and on all the systems of my body, it may not be healthy. The point of fitness that it is good for is mental. When you take up a challenge like a marathon, or you take up a challenge like Ironman or Ultraman, and you accomplish that challenge, it opens your mind. It may not be good for your body, but it opens your mind. And it gives you an idea of the potential you have as a human being. Not only to achieve things, but to overcome challenges. And therefore, anything that you may be confronted by in your day-to-day life, in your business, in your relationships, at home, wherever it may be, you know that you can deal with it. It is a mental challenge, and it opens your mind. That is what, for me, these challenges are good for. So when I did Ultraman, I did it without training. I could complete it. I was very happy. It was tough. On the second day, which was a 280-kilometer cycle with a cutoff of 12 hours, I finished 5 seconds before the cutoff. Cycling for 12 hours, 5 seconds. If I had reached 5 seconds later, I would have been disqualified. But the important thing that I saw there was a man who was 67 with one leg who finished before me. And that is important to know. So when people tell me that it was so, you're Ultraman, wow, and it's so tough, and how did you do it? You're great. I say, you can do this. You're 35, you're 40. There was a guy 67 with one leg who finished before me. So don't tell me you can't do it. It opens the mind. That's what it does.
So I think we had a great conversation on food, the busting the food myths, and also knowing what went behind this Ultraman. So we would like to, I think audience are keen to ask few questions. We'll take up a few questions and Milind will be happy to answer that. And we are going to give away some on-the-run bars to those who ask good questions.
Okay, Milind, if I'm not wrong, you see, a lot of things have been mentioned about your mom, who is a great runner even at the age of 80. Now, this is one question which I couldn't have afforded to forget, because my wife had asked me to specifically ask you, and she happens to be a great fan of yours. Okay, now is she following a special diet? Given her age, is she following a special diet, or she has not shared the secret with you so far?
She gives that secret to her son.
I'll tell you. So as I mentioned about the Ultraman and about the mind-opening value of endurance sport, the whole thing about fitness is not about how much you can run or how much weight you can lift or those kind of things. Fitness is not a physical thing. Fitness is a mental thing. It is a mental thing. Your first step to fitness is disciplining the mind, is making that decision that I will respect my body, that I will do what is necessary to be healthy. To have that discipline, that mental discipline, is the most important first step of fitness. Not running, not going to the gym, not lifting weights. It is making that decision that I will wake up at this time every day, whatever happens. I will go and do this every day, no matter what. That discipline is your first step towards fitness. So my mother decided, she was a college professor, for those who don't know, she used to teach biochemistry. She decided before she retired that when she retired at the age of 60, she would begin to trek. She wanted to trek. She always wanted to travel, but she didn't want to just go off in a car and take photographs. She said, I want to walk. So in Bombay, she walks about 7 or 8 kilometers every day, and now she's 79. But she goes on a trek every month, at least one trek in the mountains. Every month. Not only that, she does the Oxfam Trail Walker, which is a 100-kilometer event once a year. 100 kilometers in 48 hours. Just to give you another example, the oldest marathoner in the world, we know him, he's Indian, is Fauja Singh. He is 104 years old. He ran his first full marathon, that is 42-kilometer marathon, at the age of 87. So when they genes, we should not agree with that. Fauja Singh at 104, first marathon at 87. Man Kaur, a lady from Punjab, who won 4 gold medals in the World Masters in New Zealand this year, started running at the age of 93. She is world record holder in her age group at the age of 101. World record holder and Guinness record holder in the javelin throw at 101. We might be thinking even to be alive at 101 is an achievement. She is the 100-meter sprint world record holder. So we have it in us. We can do it. It's only about believing. That's the secret ingredient, belief. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to give you a small token of appreciation for asking that question. And the token is a little bag of on-the-run bars. Okay, she's got it. So just to let you know a little bit about this brand. When I was speaking about food earlier, what you should avoid is processed and packaged food. This food, of course, it's packaged. But when we talk about packaged and processed, we're talking about minimal packaging and processing. So if you see this, there are no additives, no preservatives, no added sugar, no added salt. It's only the ingredients themselves that have been packed and have been put in that bag. So that is important for each one of us to know. Even when you buy, a lot of us have to buy food from the supermarket. We have to buy food from the market. But it is our responsibility to make sure of the quality of that food that we buy. Any other questions?
It's a very inspiring and motivating to hear you talk. I just wanted to know that I'm a doctor. I have been reading and I have been listening to talks.
I'm very scared of doctors.
Please don't be, sir. I just wanted to know that people say we should be having a sunrise to sunset diet. We can begin your day with eating a fruit and then a heavy meal or a heavy brunch, followed by small multiple meals, and stop eating after sunset. Is that right?
Stop eating after sunset?
Kind of. Nothing very heavy. You can just
Yes,
have soup or two.
ideally. Though in our lives today, a lot of people have jobs that are in the night. Ideal time to eat is between sunrise and sunset. So personally, I don't have dinner after 7:30. And even 7:30 I consider late. I don't eat anything after that. And it is actually just a question of your body getting used to it. You may feel hungry in the first few days or even couple of months that you adopt this practice, but eventually your body will adapt. The greatest talent that our bodies have is the talent of adaptation. We can adapt to any situation that we put ourselves in. And so we know that through running. You can't get up and run a marathon. But once you start running, your body adapts and you can run more and more and more till one day you can run a marathon, which is actually something that is beyond the capacity of a natural person, of a normal person. It is something that needs to be trained for. So in terms of food, yes, I would say that I would suggest eating only during daylight hours. And about doctors, again, I just want to tell you, all 4 of my grandparents were doctors.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello,
sir.
Mr. Milin. Can you tell us a little bit guidance on the recovery of the injuries which runners are facing after the...
So I'll tell you, there are 2 things, in my personal opinion, that cause injury, specifically for runners. One is when you run too fast or too much, too soon. If you've just started running, and most runners who start running for health start at the age of 35 plus, which means that you have not run for about 20 years, because most children run, but at the age of 12 or 13 they stop for some reason that nobody knows yet. But when we start running again, it's around the age of 35. So you have not run for more than 20 years. The muscles that you require to run have deteriorated. They are not enough to carry your body weight. Also, what happens at the same time, which I have noticed, is from your college going days till the time where you're settled in your job or your career, which is again the age of 35, most people put on an average of 20 kilos. Most people who are living in cities, this is a typically urban phenomenon. They put on an average of 20 kilos. Now, when you begin to run with those extra kilos, you don't have the muscles to support it. The muscles grow very, very gradually. So when you start running, you have to start running very, very slowly and at very, very small distances. So do not get pressurized by other people who are running with you, who may have been running longer and faster. Your pace is the most important thing you need to know. Whatever you do in life, do it at your pace. If you want to run longer, which means all your life, start very slow, start with a very, very small distance. So most people run too far and too fast too soon. The other mistake is irregularity. The runners who are not regular, like you, are more prone to this, Mangesh, more prone to injury from running. To save yourself from running injuries, you need to run regularly. Even every day is good. Twice a day is good. A little bit. Even if you want to run 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers, you run it twice a day. It's good for you because your body begins to learn much quicker. It is not a question here of teaching yourself. It is a question of your body learning through the experience. Your body saying that, okay, I need to develop these muscles. I need to adopt this technique. I need to have this kind of balance. So, if you are injured, one thing is to get over the injury, either through rehabilitation or rest. and then again start very, very slowly. But to avoid injury, all you have to do is very, very gradually increase your speed and your distance. And I cannot stress too much on the word very and gradually. Because as human beings, we are very competitive. We want to go fast. We want to do it quickly. We want to run our first 10K in 6 months and our first marathon in 9 months and our first 50K in 1 year. For me, I would say it's not advisable. From my own personal experience, I ran my first half marathon in 2004. I ran it in 2 hours and 5 minutes. I had no experience of running before that. I ran my first full marathon in 2009. 4 years later, for 4 years, I ran those distances of the half marathon itself, only the half marathon and a little bit more. I did not progress to the full marathon for 4 years. Until today, even from swimming or from running or from the triathlon, I have never been injured. No kind of injury at all. And the only reason is self-awareness. What is my body going through at this time? Am I pushing it too hard? If you are, you have to stop. So I'll give you 2 rules of thumb. When I say too far and too fast. What is too far and what is too fast? Again, it's an individual question. Too far means if at the end of your run, if you're exhausted, you have run too far. Your capacity for running will gradually increase. Not in the beginning. Gradually increase. Automatically, if you're regular, your capacity will increase. You're running for health, you have to remember that. So when you run, if you are exhausted, you can't do the rest of your day, your job, your career, whatever you're doing. If it's affecting that negatively, you're running too far. It has to affect it positively. You must be energized when you run. And when you're running, if you're panting, if you cannot breathe properly, comfortably, if you cannot speak, if you cannot sing while you're running, then you are running too fast. So even if your running speed is slower than your walk, remember that. Even if it's slower than your walk, it's okay. Because this is a new movement. Walking movement and running movement are completely different. They involve different muscles. So the movement is important, not the speed and not the distance. Let the body learn the movement. And the more comfortable the body is with the movement, the less risk of injury.
Hello, sir. I am not a runner, much of a runner.
You're not a runner?
No, I don't like running, but I like a lot of cycling. So a month before, this thought has been built. I want to do much big with cycling next year, after next monsoons, which is expected to cycle at least 50 to 100 kilometers a day for few months. I'm aiming something around 7 to 8,000 kilometers of cycling. And I started training myself. The thing is, when I have thought of doing this, I'm doing a lot of R&D with people who have done distance cycling. So there has been very genuine help of people how they have gone with their routine, but I have come to a conclusion that everyone has their own body type and their diet. A lot of people are non-vegetarians and veg and stuff. So when I speak to a lot of people, I am confused that should I just be cycling for few hours, or I should do something with weight training. Like when I spoke to people, they have done something simultaneously along with it. Maybe more of weight training, swimming, gym and all. But I can't give so much of time because I have other works also to, like you said, that I have particular hours you should restrict. So I cycle at least thrice or 4 times a week. And I stop at 2 hours. Whatever I can cycle for 2 hours, I concentrate more on my space, that if I'm taking 30, 40 kilometers for 2-3 hours. So I'm little more confused on that. And secondly, once I aim that of doing it next year, I am again, these are like on my old thoughts, that I don't want to have wear and tear of the body. Yeah. So. Yeah, that is also that.
Okay, so I got the gist of the question. I think the answer, as I mentioned earlier, that your body is going to adapt to whatever you subject it to. So the most important thing is to be regular, and the most important thing is also to be aware of what you're doing. So even if you have already set a date, don't make that date the most important thing. You will know when you are ready. And when you are ready, then you do it. Okay? So it's 7,000 kilometers is not a small distance. It's a big distance. You're going to subject your body to a lot of stress. So for your body to get ready for that, it needs a lot of conditioning over a long period of time. The longer you condition your body, the easier it will be for you. So I know you have a year. If you can be regular and consistent, and again, it's always good to have different forms of workout. To have full body exercise, to swim, to cycle, to run, to do a lot of things. But of course, cycling has to be about, I would say 60 to 70% of it, because finally you want the conditioning specifically for cycling. So focus more on that. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do other stuff. You should, because even mentally, it'll break the monotony. You'll be fresher when you cycle. Because where the monotony comes in into the mind, it makes you tired. Your body may not be tired, but your mind gets tired. So when you vary your workout, your exercise, it will keep you fresher for cycling. And depending on how long you condition for the entire year, it will be easier for you when you do your challenge. But be regular, be very, very, very regular.
So we have one last question to take.
Me Takapara Idani swimming on event at the event Katana.
So I'll just introduce him. I spoke to you about Badwe, the boy whom at your hand you felicitated him for the medal and the swimming. So why don't you come here actually? Just So he wants to do the Ironman, and he wants your advice on how he should train for the Ironman.
So who's going to explain? No, to him. She will explain. So this is Mr. Badwe. He is deaf and dumb. He wants to do the Ironman. So first I'd like you to give him a big round of applause. And he wants a few tips. So I have already spoken a bit how to do it. But what I'd like to say to him is, if you want, then I can train you personally. Yeah? Okay. I mean, I'll be very happy. It's great. When we were discussing it all about the power of the mind, you can understand that it might be difficult, there might be problems that he will face because he cannot hear and he cannot speak, but still it has not stopped him from believing that he can be Iron Man. So another big cheer for him. Well done. I'll train you. We will train you. Yeah.
So we have one last question from.
Yeah, my question is a bit different. Probably you have heard it sometimes. Along with being an excellent, you're also part of showbiz, right? You have been a supermodel. You are still a supermodel for us. And you are even part of the film industry. And as we all know, people from showbiz, they have really erratic schedules. So how do you manage to have the discipline to wake up at the crack of dawn and run? That is the question.
Actually, I don't wake up at the crack of dawn. I hate waking up at the crack of dawn. So that's also a myth. One is that you don't need to wake up at the crack of dawn to run. You can run at any time. You can exercise at any time. You can play a sport at any time. It is a question of managing your time, as I said. So you manage your time to figure out when is the best time for you. The second myth is that it's difficult for people in showbiz to do something like this. They have erratic schedules, but it is of their own choice. So I choose when I want to work. It's very easy for me, don't worry. It's easy for me, it's easy for any television actor, it's easy for Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, it's easy for all of them to do exactly what they want. They have this freedom. They really do. If I have it, then they definitely have it. You know, so it's two things. So in fact, I have been blessed by being in this position. And what people say that, ह्याचं लग्न नाही झालंय आणि मुलं नाही आहेत आणि जॉब नाही आहे आणि तरीच तो धावत असतो तेवढा is actually true. But so I like to give the example of people who are married, have children, have jobs, 9-to-5 jobs, probably running their own companies, and they are also running the full marathon, they are also doing Ironman, they are also doing Ultraman. So nothing should stop you.
Okay, so just really the last question, which we have.
Hi. Shilpa ran last year our marathon, the first edition. And I really want you, when are you going to run our marathon?
When are you running ABB's marathon, half marathon is what they are asking.
Not this year, but soon, hopefully. Hopefully. In fact, I just discussed another route for a new kind of event, which when they told me where they have their regular running routes across this ridge all the way to Ellora, I said I would be very excited to run all along the ridge to Ellora and back. And I think that's very interesting. It's about 50 kilometers. I think anybody across the country and maybe even from other countries would love to run such a beautiful route.
So thank you so much. There's one last announcement that we have a coupon code of ABB20. Okay, so let me complete this and we'll take the code. So we have a coupon code ABB20 which is for all the ABB runners. The coupon code is valid for 20% discount on all On The Run products available on our website www.ontherun.in. I would request you to please make it a point to go and make use of this coupon code. The coupon code is valid till 26 November, which is your marathon date. So we still have, Milind says there is one last question from the backbencher. He doesn't want to be partial and from this side.
Hello, thanks Milind sir, and you inspired us a lot. I just want to ask the importance of water throughout the day during running and the importance of glucose water after running or during running or before running or throughout the day.
Okay, so what you mean by, I'm just answering on his behalf. The water is definitely important. Water is, if you're asking about hydration, this is a question.
Was your question about hydration?
Yeah, it is about hydration. So hydration is definitely important, but hydration is something that you also train for. So if you have been training for a certain hydration, depending on the weather that you are training and in the weather that you are training, if those weather conditions are different than when you are racing for your race marathon, then you need to accordingly manage the hydration part. As for the glucose, it's not just about the glucose, it's about the sugar and the instant energy that provides you at that time. So in whichever form you get energy, it's the glucose water or it's Enerzol or anything that you consume or an energy bar, it is a glucose. I mean, everything is a sugar that your body needs during an exercise. And if you have a tendency to dehydrate, you have a tendency to sweat a lot, then you accordingly need to have water. There is no one answer. He might run with no water. I need 1 liters of water every 10 kilometers. So it differs on your body, but it also depends on how you have trained for it. If you have trained with water, you race with water. If you have been training your body, like he says that he drinks very little water, but because his rest of his diet is providing him for all the water that requires, like he eats 2.5 kilos of fruit a day. That gives him all the water that's necessary. If you don't do that, then you need to supplement yourself with water.
Thank Milind for coming here. We had a wonderful interaction which was informative and entertaining. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shilpa, for coming here and interviewing Milind, getting him here.
Thank you so much for hosting
I'd
us.
like
It
to
was
thank
wonderful.
MIT for hosting in this wonderful and innovative auditorium. And I'd like to thank all of you who've come here in large numbers to attend this. Let me tell you that the registrations for our marathon are closing on the 30th of September. I urge you, if any of you have not registered, to please register. And we'd like to end this session with a 1-minute video on MAHHM, that's our marathon.
Come on, Sandhya. Sir, local. Local, sir. Milind, sir.
last two.
She's my mom.